Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris, coming to you from the annual Bringing America Back to Life event, sponsored by Cleveland Right to Life. This massive conference has become the premier event in the pro-life world, with more than 1,000 attendees present. And it is altogether fitting that it is being held in Ohio because of what's happening on a statewide ballot this coming November. It's a child-killing amendment to the state constitution that would allow abortion right through the moment of birth, and nothing could ever be legislated against it because it would be in the state constitution. Since the fall of Roe, the child killers have figured out their strategy whereby abortion would be legal state by state in all 50 states. They are working diligently, again, on a state-by-state level to actually create an environment worse and more devastating than had been the case under Roe.
Abortion isn't a states' rights issue. It's a human rights issue. It's a human life issue. So to say that this is a states' rights issue is like saying slavery is a states' rights issue. It's not.
Just as in honest presidential elections, whatever way Ohio goes is an almost automatic win for the candidate. It really is a bellwether state, so if you win here, it's pretty clear that you're going to win overall, and that reality has now propelled Ohio into the pole position, ground zero in the abortion wars. For all the celebration, deservedly so, over the shooting down of Roe, it could turn out to be a Pyrrhic victory and end up locking down abortion as a state constitutional right in all 50 states, and turn out to be a boon for the child-killing machine and actually be installed by the voters themselves. In short, the end of Roe is turning out to be the greatest win the pro-aborts could ever have had.
To know that this decision, which has led to millions of children dying, has fallen, glory to God, blessed be God. In the days that followed, though, when you look at the decision and you read that the Supreme Court justices could have gone farther, the 14th Amendment, no person should be deprived of the right to life. The justices could have declared that unborn children are just that. They're children, they're persons deserving of the first fundamental right, but they didn't do that. And now this issue has been sent back to the states.
Peter Range, who is a Catholic, a good Catholic, is the CEO of Ohio Right to Life and is leading the charge of a coalition of pro-life groups statewide against the November ballot measure.
Pope Benedict said, when we push God to the horizons, anything becomes possible. And that's exactly what we're seeing in our culture and society today. So, again, not only the abortion issue, but the marriage issue, the transgender issue that we're facing today. If you push God to the horizons and the way that God has designed the universe, the natural law, then everything that you do civilly from that perspective could be made up. It's a social contract, right? So when we're having these conversations or debates with people about what should be legal or what should not be legal, what you're actually debating about is actually the nature of God.
The heart of the problem here is this: time may have already run out. Roe was so set in the mind of Americans as a thing that abortion was just part of the fabric of American life for so long that in state after state, most voters are resistant to actually ending it. So far, since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe in its Dobbs decision, the pro-life movement is 0-6, having lost every time at the ballot box when the question of abortion, yes or no, was put to the voters for a straight-up vote. Too many in the pro-life movement were simply unprepared for the child killers to get back up off the mat with such ferocity, again being caught flat-footed, either being too naive or too exhausted to look into the abyss of darkness that is child murder and realize that Satan never rests and never gives up. This naive belief or lack of awareness has been the Achilles heel of the pro-life movement since its inception. The movement is going to have to come to terms fast with the reality that has been waging the wrong war for 50 years. For all the legal maneuvering and political posturing and strategizing to get the right justices on the Supreme Court and chipping away at Roe on the state level, that has ultimately proved to be a very costly battle, as well as perhaps the ticket to locking abortion as a foundational right in every state in America. The battle plan simply took too long to unfold. Like every single issue where sin is involved, it's always a battle between good versus evil, and that means the battle needed to be fought along the lines of natural moral law.
We want to stand for religious liberty. We want to stand for the fact that boys and girls are made just that, boys and girls. Because when we don't preach that truth in the public square, we're forced into these corners where we can no longer live our faith out there in the public, but we're forced to just be in our private little churches. And that's not what Jesus ever called us to do. He called us to go out and to make disciples of all nations. But we failed to do that over the last 40 to 50 years. The left has taken advantage of that kind of hole, if you will, in the public arena. And we need to get back in and fight, because that's where we've been called to fight.
Trump won Ohio both in 2016 and 2020 by sizable margins as the Buckeye State turned more and more red. The question this November will be, will that red be the color of victory, or yet another state awash in the blood of infants? To watch the entire interview with Peter Range, please click on the provided link. Coming to you from the Bringing America Back to Life Symposium here in Cleveland, this is Michael Voris. God love you.